Hi authors. I've done a number of videos on AI and this is another one. And I'll put the links to all of them in the description, but today I want to explore the darker side of AI. Because we are really in a tech-driven world and artificial intelligence has seeped its way into every industry. It has transformed how we see the world, how we do our tasks, how we deal with challenges, and authorship and writing is no exception. So while AI can offer uh, potential and support and benefits, I think there's also the shadows. There's, what's lurking in those shadows is something we want to be looking at, right? And I want us to acknowledge this and navigate this together. And that's what this video is about. So let's delve into the shadowy side, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've done the good in another video. Today we're doing the bad and the ugly. So the bad, lack of creativity or originality. So AI can only spit out what's being put in it. And so if you are relying solely on AI and not your own original, unique ideas and way of saying things and thoughts and humor and personality, then that's a huge pitfall, right? It lacks the human touch. And when I read something that AI has written, I can tell that's AI. I get emails now that I know are written by AI. It's like, that's so obvious. And I have to admit, sometimes it's really hard to want to communicate with people who can't take the time to actually get to know who I am when they want to sell me something. Why would I when there's somebody else who's going to come along and take the time to get to know me and then say, hey, I have this great offer for you? I mean, what would you be using, right? So in AI and writing, that's recycled phrases, recycled ideas, recycled narratives. So I'm waiting for that day. I pick up a book and I read it and I think that's the same book as that. They've just changed the characters' names, right? Not something we want. Ethical concerns. Now I've done an entire video on ethical concerns and I got to say ethically, it gets murky. There's plagiarism, there's content devaluation. So content devaluation, if the people in charge of AI are taking copyrighted materials from other authors and they're putting that into their AI, they're training AI with that, they're devaluing that content and they're plagiarizing that content. So they don't have permission to use copyrighted material. That is an issue. And then on top of that, AI then goes and paraphrases and borrows things, and then it's intentionally or not promoting plagiarism. It's promoting or it's diluting the value of humans in creating their own content and being original and explaining things in different ways, right? And so, and then of course, ethical concerns, you weaponize fake news. There's this whole other, misleading information. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but I'm also just not going to go too deep into that because I want to really focus on as writing. So job displacement. I've heard this a lot, job displacement. What are writers going to do? Huge elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about. So I don't believe so. I think that AI, like, it streamlines information, sure, but it doesn't create all these new and wonderful things. So it's the real human who has who thinks up the strategies and is endlessly creative. And so I see AI as more of a personal assistant, right, helping you fly the plane. And so, yeah, it can help you with your editing. It can benefit you and the readers, but I don't think it's actually going to take away the job of really good writers or corporations who want really high quality writing because they're still going to hire writers. Okay, it depends on a certain data set and it uses algorithms. And so we as humans, sure, we have a data set. I have a knowledge base. And in some ways I have an algorithm, right? I have a certain way of thinking from when I was brought up and right. But that may be different than AI, but AI, everyone using AI is using that same data set and that same algorithm. Whereas if you have 10 people in the room, we all have a different data set, and we all have a different algorithm or way of thinking. And so we are, as 10 people in the room coming up with creative ideas, going to be, I believe, better than AI. And so, I think it's limited in that way. And I think the content in the end can lack depth, uh, you know, not be very accurate, especially on topics where it hasn't had a lot of data put in. And so, how do you know how much data is being put in on your particular niche topic? You probably don't, right? And so, I think that can be something quite negative about AI at the moment, anyways. Maybe it'll know everything about everyone in the entire world one day, but it doesn't yet. Okay, that's the bad. Now let's look at the ugly side of AI for writers: misinformation and fake news. And this might be the most ominous threat there is, because currently there seems to be a proliferation of misinformation and fake news. And if that gets into AI, and AI is then generating content as convincing as it is, it may be deceptive. And now we're spreading that deception throughout the internet when we put our own content back in. And this can have huge consequences: public opinion, political decisions. Uh, we've seen, civil unrest, and AI can contribute to that. And so, rigorous fact checking, super important. You want to verify what you're doing. AI bias and discrimination. Who is deciding what goes into AI? It's like AI is over there. I notice I keep going AI. AI is right there beside me, staring at me as I'm doing the video. So AI bias and discrimination. Who's deciding what goes in there? What goes in there? If what goes in is hate speech, misogynistic, prejudice, racist, anti-religion, pro-religion, like whatever, right? If it's biased, if it discriminates in any way, then what comes out is also going to be biased. It's also going to be it's also going to discriminate. Racist in, racist out. Misogynist in, misogynist out. And this is a serious issue. And so what we really need to do, and what we don't, you and I as writers, we don't have a lot of control over what goes in, but what we really need is diverse and like a hugely different data sets, representative of a number of ways of thinking, because we want life to be fair and inclusive, right? I do, anyways. I think you do too. Security and privacy issues. Are you putting client stuff in there? Because don't, right? So we don't yet really understand the data security and the user privacy around AI. And so it's up to us to really vet the platforms we're using to ensure that the corporations are compliant with rules, with privacy regulations. It's really hard to sort that out, and the laws and government are behind because they just can't keep up with the pace of technology developments. And then, lastly, unintended consequences. Let's face it, I don't know, and you don't know any unforeseen consequences that might come up as AI continues to evolve. You don't know. I don't know. What if there's a proliferation of harmful ideologies? What if it's just simply miscommunication, misrepresented data, right? We don't know that. And I think we need to be vigilant around that. So as you are using AI, if you choose to use it, as you're using it, recognize the benefits, because yes, there are some benefits, but be aware of the bad and the ugly, the limitations, the dangers. So use it with care, acknowledge its benefits, but also acknowledge the dangers and the downfalls, and make decisions accordingly. Because honestly, recently I've seen too many people who either love AI or hate AI. And I think we need to not necessarily take a middle road, but at least be thoughtful and hear all sides before we make decisions.